Republican National Committee Chair Ronna McDaniel will officially step down from her position on March 8th, days after Super Tuesday. Her departure comes as tension is rising between Trump and the RNC. RNC committee member Henry Barbour joins me now. Thank you so much for being here. It's good to see you, Henry. First, let me just ask you about what your reaction is to both Ronna McDaniel leaving and Trump's endorsed candidates for RNC chair, Michael Whatley from North Carolina, and co-chair, his daughter-in-law, Lara Trump.
Well, it's a bad precedent. And I say that because I think Donald Trump is jumping the gun before the primary is over to begin to influence things at the RNC. He's supposed to get a majority of the delegates wrapped up, and we've only voted in 4 states. And voters deserve to be able to have a vote and a say. That's the process that we have in place and that we've had in place for decades. And in effect, Donald Trump is trying to change the rules in the middle of the game. But I'm not happy about Ronna leaving. But I don't think there's any question that Michael Whatley and Lara Trump will get elected at the meeting.
Are you happy that they will get elected?
Well, I'm not happy that, and this is the reason I offered this resolution dealing with neutrality. It says the RNC should stay neutral through the primary. And it should, and we shouldn't have a campaign dictating to us while the primary is still going on. There's another candidate running, and Donald Trump, while he has a significant lead, in which I'm not blind to, the RNC has a job to be neutral. And at least until we have a presumptive nominee. I like Michael Whatley. I know him well. I don't know Lara Trump. But as I say, they're both going to get elected. I don't think there's any real question about that, Dana.
Henry, you mentioned the pair of resolutions that you're pushing inside the Republican National Committee. One was pledge for neutrality. The other one would bar the RNC from paying any of Donald Trump's legal fees. Lara Trump, who we were just talking to, has not surprisingly suggested that she would be open to the committee paying her father-in-law's legal bills. How hard are you willing to fight to make sure this doesn't happen?
Well, I certainly am willing, to take a stand that it may not be popular with some right now. The RNC has one job, Dana, and that's to win elections. And we should spend our finite resources on political operations and actually winning elections, and paying any candidates legal fees or frankly any other outside fees or expenses is not the RNC's job. Our job is to win elections. And the other reason that I think I would be opposed to this is when the RNC sends out a solicitation and says, hey, do you want to take the White House back and get the country back on track? Donors send in their $28 or whatever it is. Well, it would be totally misleading to take that money and then go and spend it with some big fat law firm, legal fees for something that has nothing to do with winning the election.
And
this
Henry,
cycle. So Henry, I'm opposed.
Forgive me. You know that it happened until Trump became a candidate for president this cycle. The RNC was already paying his legal bills from when he was president. At least $1.6 million of those donor funds that you were talking about have already gone to those law firms, to lawyers, to help his legal fees. I should say, in response to your resolutions, Trump advisor Chris LaCivita, who is expected to move into the RNC, released a statement saying the primary is over and it's the RNC's sole responsibility to defeat Joe Biden and win back the White House. Efforts to delay that assist Joe Biden in the destruction of our nation. Republicans cannot stand on the sidelines and allow this to happen. What's your response?
Chris LaCivita is a good man. He's a good operative. He just happens to be wrong. The RNC has laid out the rules and the process and the primary schedule. Once a candidate gets to 1,215 delegates, then you have a majority of the delegates, and you can become the presumptive nominee and run things. They're jumping ahead of the game. We've got 4 states that have voted. It's just like I say, changing the rules in the middle of the game, and I don't think it's right. But I respect LaCivita. He's very good at what he does, and a lot of the Trump campaign is very talented. So I appreciate that, but they need to respect the rules at the RNC. That number one, we have to be neutral, and number two, we should spend our resources on winning elections and not on legal fees for candidates of any type.
And Henry, before I let you go, I just want to ask about the mechanics. Your goal, in order to get this resolution passed, this specifically, I'm talking about the one to say the RNC can't pay Donald Trump's legal fees. You told me, a pair of Republican National Committeemen from 10 states. Where are you in that effort?
I have 6 states lined up. And I will say Chris LaCivita has said, Trump's campaign operative, that he agrees that the RNC won't pay that. So I would ask Chris, well, then why don't you encourage RNC members to go ahead and make this official, and let's pass this resolution. The other resolution will have to stand on its own. And without LaCivita doing that, these aren't going to pass.
Interesting. Very, very interesting times inside the Republican Party, and this is just one very big aspect of it. Henry, thank you so much for coming on today. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dana.
Coming up, a CNN exclusive, why a secret Twitter account unearthed by our reporters reveals a far more aggressive